The definition of theory is as follows: a plausible or scientifically acceptable general principle or body of principles offered to explain phenomena.
Hello, Theorists. I am your host, Ken Goods. Welcome back to another episode of the Can Theory Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about some time travel, and it's going to be pretty out there. This might be one of my shorter episodes. It's mostly going to be an opinion piece, meaning mostly my theory, as apart from time dilation, there's no factual proof that time travel really occurs. So, let's just get into some of the theoreticals today. And like I said, it's probably going to be another shorter episode, but I just really want to get this one out there to you guys. I think it's, we might not have it yet in our timeline, but who knows? Maybe sometime in the future, it could be a possibility. Or maybe it is already, and it's just a completely hidden and cautiously used technology. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So in order to speak about time travel, we first have to explore the relationship between time and space. Because without space, in the three-dimensional universe that we perceive, there can be no time. And without time, we can have no space and no time travel. There's the space-time continuum, which is the relationship between the two and how they intertwine. So today, we recognize time as the fourth dimension, and this all begins with Albert Einstein's work in the theory of relativity. All right, so the theory of relativity is broken down to two concepts: special relativity and general relativity. Special relativity essentially concerns time dilation. Say you're traveling on an airplane and there's an identical airplane flying next to you. However, you're going faster on this airplane. It would appear from your perspective that if somebody on that plane was wearing a watch, that time would be moving slower for them than it would on your watch. It'd only be fractions of a second in this case, but this is a real life phenomena that occurs, and it's an everyday thing. This is included in GPS satellites as they travel much faster or much slower around orbit. There is a very, very, very slight difference in time to what we're experiencing here. And it'll be fractions of a second calculated by these, say, a GPS satellite. If you're going from point A to point B, the time difference for you driving on Earth is going to be different than calculated from an orbit. And then we have general relativity, which is pretty much the laws of gravity. The more massive an object, the more space warps around it. Instead of being an invisible force that attracts objects to one another, gravity is actually the curving and the warping of space. So we know that time travel essentially does actually exist in our everyday existence. It happens every time that you're moving faster than 1 second per second. It's very, very small and pretty insignificant. But when we think on a much larger scale, could we travel to the past or the future and actually, I guess come out intact, because the speeds of which you'd have to be moving at would be, you would die. But if there was a way to counter that, we'd also have to be able to manipulate possibly gravity or time itself. Let's talk science fiction now, which is pretty much the basis for everyone's kind of idea for time travel. You have time machines. People have the ability to travel through either time or space, or both, which would be like Nightcrawler from X-Men. He's able to transport from one location to another, which I'd like to mention. If people have ever studied astral projection, essentially that is the goal of astral projection, and it's done in dreams. You're able to bring your consciousness to another point in space or time. But moving on, we have, movies that have been out recently where people can teleport, and like The Time Traveler's Wife, a pretty famous romantic movie from a couple years ago. people are able to time travel. Is this a possibility in our modern universe? And if so, where are these time travelers? Stephen Hawking has even said, if there was time travel, wouldn't there be hundreds, if not thousands, of time travel tourists coming back to visit our present day age? Maybe. Some people theorize that time travelers are actually among us and they're just blending in. And now I'm going to open the case for some purported photos and evidence of actual time travelers. The picture displayed on screen is from 1941 and is at the event of an opening of a bridge in British Columbia, Canada. So, if you notice, the central figure in the picture is wearing what seems to be modern clothing by relative the past 15 years or so, saying that today is in the year 2021. He looks very out of place there, and the sunglasses, the t-shirt, what appears to be just a hooded sweatshirt. This is 1941. If you notice, everyone around him is dressed much more formal and in a completely different style of fashion. It has been speculated that these clothing trends that he is wearing were starting to emerge at the time, and it's feasible that these actually were common articles back then. And this guy is kind of known as, it went viral on the internet as kind of a sensation. He's known as a time traveling hipster. And I think this is probably one of the most convincing photographic evidence of time travel. I don't know if it's actually time travel, but it's pretty weird that he's wearing these things. He's the only one wearing these things. And in 1941, I don't think people were really dressing like this. Like I said, it's an interesting picture. And carrying on to our next topic, we have an 1860 painting, which almost depicts a woman looking as though she's using an iPhone. A lot of people have debunked this as saying that it's actually a prayer book, but again, pretty weird stuff. Now, if these were indeed time travelers, we have to discuss the possibility of the butterfly effect and other philosophical implications. So the butterfly effect is that if you change anything in the past, it'll have a step-by-step cause and effect and change something in the future as well, or the present. If that's true, that means that a time traveler going to the past could actually alter the course of time. However, there's also another case against saying that you can alter the past, and that is the ontological paradox, which states that anything that has changed in the past will actually still not change the course of the future, as what pretty much happens in the eventual timeline, major events will happen regardless. The Novikov self-consistency principle, named after Igor Dmitrievich Novikov, states that any actions that were actually taken in the past by time travelers aren't known to be by time travelers because that is what shaped our current day present, and we would have no recollection of those events. And so, any time travel that occurred was used very cautiously to alter the past in order to maintain a stable future as it's been ongoing to create the present that we now live in. And if it was altered, we would actually have no realization of these events being altered in the past, as it's already happened. And there was no other universe to compare it to that we have knowledge of. But what about using time travel to travel through great distances? Everything we've spoken about so far has been either altering the present or the past and traveling in time. What if we were able to speed up our movement so we were able to travel great distances? Now, the one leading possibility that nobody has any actual scientific evidence of is wormholes. A wormhole could essentially be used, or maybe it actually is, and we're just unable to harness this capability. They're used as a sort of like a window or a doorway from one point in space-time to another completely, and it would bypass the entire third dimension. These are theoretically, technically black holes, but we can't prove that they're an entrance or an exit elsewhere. and anything that comes into contact with a black hole is broken down. The matter itself is entirely destroyed. And now you may be thinking of Interstellar when he pretty much catapults himself into a black hole. Sorry for the spoilers if any of you guys have not seen that movie. But that's theoretically impossible. A black hole would actually break you down and you would die well before you even made it anywhere. It breaks down light itself. But supposing that we were able to actually use black holes at some point in the future, would we be able to, say, travel through one end up into another, into a different point in space time completely? And how would that affect time in terms of the previous entry point? Well, nobody knows for sure, but that's the leading principle. And one of the ways that kind of science fiction gets around it too, like you see Star Wars, Star Trek, when they go into hyperspeed or light speed, essentially that's what they're doing. They're just using a quantum drive or something else science fiction-y named, and they use that to pinpoint from one location in space-time to another, and they fast travel from here to there. Would that be used if we were able to harness it and explore space? Oh, hands down, most definitely we would do that, because it's like the traveling across space takes a very, very, very long time. And the problem though is, as Einstein has claimed, nothing will ever be able to match the speed of light. And even if we were, time travel essentially and space-time travel would require going faster than the speed of light. At least where we are now, there's no way we're going to see that. And in the future sometime, maybe we will, but this is a very, very, very long time away from our technological capabilities. We're talking thousands, millions of years from now, maybe in a super advanced civilization. Or maybe it is out there already, and the people that we see on the streets, maybe you just might have happened to pass by a time traveler. Who knows? I like to keep an open mind about it. I don't think there really is any time travelers going around here, because if that was the case, that a super advanced civilization had developed time travel technology, I think evolution would have changed their appearance quite a bit by that time as well. So I don't know. It's still pretty cool though. I love time travel to be true. I think everyone would. Maybe you made a mistake at some point in your life and you could just go back and fix it and redo the whole event over again. Or maybe the Novikov principle states that you can't do that anyway, because everything is as it always will be, and you can't change the past. It's always going to work itself out that same way. But it's interesting to think about. It's kind of like a Schrodinger's cat situation. Is it there? Is it not there? Are you able to change the past? Are you able to go to the future and see things? I think the problem there, even if we had the capability of space-time technology and time travel, who knows where you're going to end up? You can't just open up and look real quick. You might just portal into where a star has moved across the universe millions of years from now, and yep, you just teleport right into a star. Whoops, sorry for your luck. But anyways, I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. I'm pretty sure this is a short one. I'm not exactly sure what it's going to cut down to. I just really wanted to talk about time travel and just kind of ramble a little bit. And, I just wanted to have a fun one, take the edge off a little bit, not have to do quite so much research, and talk about something I think is really, really cool. Obviously, there's not any real factual documentation or evidence for time travel. And I'm not going to say that there is. I definitely don't believe that anyone who claims to have time traveled is credible whatsoever. But time dilation most certainly is a thing and is scientifically proven. Not going into the past, but very, very slightly into the future. And it's almost a moot point because it is so insignificant of a time gap or distance. But I don't think we'll see it in our lifetime especially, but time travel. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section, or you can join me on the Discord server that's listed in the description, or you can check us out on Instagram, Twitter, Spotify, YouTube here, or Apple Podcast. And go ahead, give me any events that you guys would like me to check out. I'd be more than happy to, and we can have a one-on-one conversation in the Discord server. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you guys for viewing once again, and have a good day. This is your host, Can Goods, signing off.